Hello everyone, today we are reading Fredrick's Journey, the Life of Fredrick Douglass by Doreen, Rappaport, and illustrated by London Ladd. The story begins with Fredrick was taken from his mother when he was a baby and sent to live with his grandparents. His mother slaved 6 days a week from sunrise to sunset on another farm 12 miles away. She longed to see Fredrick, but walking 24 miles round trip and getting back by dawn was almost impossible. Only 5 times did he feel her loving arms around him. I did not recollect ever seeing my mother by light of day. She would lie down with me and get me to sleep, but long before I waked, she was gone. He heard whispers that a man named Old Master was his father, but he was never sure. So as you're reading this story, I want you to think about Fredrick Douglass's perspective, his thoughts and feelings as he tells this story. How would you think and feel if you only got to see your mother at night? Grandfather Isaac was free. Grandmother Betsy was a slave. She cared for all her grandchildren, knowing how painful it would be when she had to give them up. Her loving hands bathed Fredrick, fed him, nursed him, and hugged him. He ran freely among the cornstalks, which tickled his face and legs. He watched squirrels scamper up trees and bury their nuts in the earth. Grandmama taught him to fish. He dipped his thread line and pin hook into the water, but only got nibbles, while she scooped up scores of shad with her handmade nets. Living with my grandmother, whose kindness and love stood in place of my mother's, it was some time before I knew myself to be a slave. So in this beautiful picture, it is showing his grandmother teaching him how to fish and how his grandmother actually raised him because his grandmother was free. And when he was living in this beautiful land with his grandmother learning how to fish, he didn't even realize he was a slave. This is what it looks like. The summer he was 6, his owner ordered his grandmother to bring Fredrick to him. Her loving hand trembled as they walked 12 miles to a place with grand houses and hundreds of black men, women, and children. They are kin to you, Grandmama said, pointing to 3 children. Go and play with them. I really did not understand what they were to me, or I to them. Brothers and sisters we were by blood, but slaveries had made us strangers. Fredrick feared that he played with them, his grandmother would leave without him. She did, and he wept. Grandmama was all the world to me. So an important word on this page is kin, and kin is another word for family. Just like in this quote, it talks about how they were brothers and sisters to Fredrick Douglass by blood, but slavery had made them strangers because they were forced to go and work while he was able to stay with his grandmother. Unfortunately, his master, the person that owned the slaves, ordered him to start working at a very young age, and he was taken from his grandmother. Old Master made Fredrick sleep on clay floor in a closet covered by a coarse blanket. His only clothing was an itchy shirt. He ate sitting on his naked behind, and with an oyster shell spoon scooped up cornmeal mush out of a trough. The children were called to eat like so many pigs. He ate that fasted, got most, and have often been so pinched with hunger that I fought with the dog for the smallest crumbs. Fredrick's mother died when he was 7. He was never told she was ill. So his mother was ill and sick, and she died when he was 7. One morning, screaming woke him. Old Master was shouting ugly words and whipping Fredrick's Aunt Esther. I was hushed, terrified, stunned, and could do nothing. Her fate might be mine next. He saw more beatings and a few times felt the whip on his back. Another aunt ran away. Try as Old Master did, he could not find her. Her success made me seriously think of escape. So, again, his kin, his family, were also being treated very poorly, just like his mother was treated very poorly. But his aunt was able to escape. And because of this, he considered himself having the ability to escape one day. After 2 years Old Master gifted Fredrick to relatives in Baltimore, Maryland. So when they say gifted, again, Fredrick was a slave. He was owned by these people, which is insane, but he was owned by these masters. And so back in the South, when they had slaves, they used to give people as gifts, which is really sad to think, but they used to give people as gifts to other people. So they gave Fredrick as a gift, as a servant, as a slave to another person. To relatives in Baltimore, Maryland, free blacks lived and worked there. His new mistress, Sophia Auld, gave him a clean shirt and pants to wear. He ate at the table now and slept in a straw bed with a cover. He cared for Mistress Sophia's 2-year-old Tommy. In his free time, he was allowed to play in the neighborhood with poor white boys his age. Mistress Sophia taught him the alphabet in simple words so he could read the Bible. Her husband was furious, insisting that reading will forever unfit him for the duties of a slave. She stopped teaching him. So his new owner decided that she wanted to teach him how to read, but her husband decided that that was not something he needed as a slave. But Fredrick sensed that words had power. While the family slept, he sneaked into the library and sounded out words in books. With his white playmates, he traded food for words in his copybook. For a single biscuit, my hungry little comrades would give me a lesson more valuable than bread. Day by day, month by month, year by year, harder and harder words, he could not stop, even though he risked whippings if found out. So I want you to think, as you are in school, if you had to teach yourself how to read, how difficult would that be? He taught himself how to read. He used what little knowledge he had and taught himself how to understand text. Fredrick read newspapers he found in the street. He copied letters with chalk on fences and sidewalks and barrels. He polished boots for money and bought a book of speeches about freedom. How wondrous to learn that people use words to teach and convince that some white people, hated slavery. There was hope in these words. So he was inspired to keep doing the hard thing of learning how to read and to teach himself school, basically, because in these books, it showcased hope and it showcased a hopeful and free future. 6 years later, Fredrick was returned to his old master, who died the following year. Fredrick's new master found him too uppity for a slave. He had to be taught a lesson. He rented Fredrick to a farmer who starved him, worked him, and whipped him until his spirit was broken, and he stopped dreaming of freedom. Though one day Fredrick fought back, he knew he might be killed for doing so. This battle was the turning point in my life as a slave. I was a man now, and inspired me with renewed determination to be a free man. The farmer never touched him again. His new master sent Fredrick back to Baltimore, where he fell in love with Anna Murray. It was hopeless to think of a marriage. He was a slave, Anna was a free black. For them to be together, Fredrick would have to escape to the north. Anna would follow. His first attempt failed. The second time, he posed as a free seaman. He jumped onto a moving train heading north. The conductor asked for his papers and didn't realize that his papers described someone else. Train, steamboat, train. Finally, he arrived in New York City. Free earth under my feet, a new world. So Fredrick knew that he had to escape slavery and do the brave thing by pretending to be someone else. He jumped trains, he went on a boat, he jumped another train until he finally made it to New York City. Fredrick sent for Anna and they married. They moved to New Bedford, Massachusetts. He took a new last name, Douglas, to make it more difficult for his owner to track him down. Soon he was lecturing in states as far west as Indiana and Illinois. He spoke about his life as a slave and about the prejudice in the North. I was in pursuit of a job of caulking, but such was the prejudice against color that white caulkers refused to work with me. Many northern whites did not like what he said. They threw eggs at him and beat him up, but nothing stopped him from speaking the truth. So he chose to speak up against injustice and be brave, and even though he faced a very heavy backlash against white people that did not agree with what he had to say, he continued to speak. Many white people did not believe that Fredrick, who spoke so well, could have ever been a slave. He wanted people to believe him, so he wrote his autobiography. Autobiography, as we know, means a story that someone wrote about their own life. A biography is written by someone else. Autobiography is a story that they wrote about their own life. He did not shy away from naming his owner and describing the places where he lived. His friends warned that this put him in danger. He did it anyway. His book became a bestseller. Now his owner knew where he was. Fredrick unhappily left his family and went to Great Britain and Ireland, where slavery was outlawed. For the first time in his life, he felt truly free. I spent some of the happiest moments of my life in this country. 2 years later, friends brought Fredrick his freedom for $710.96. He returned home and started a newspaper called the North Star because slaves followed the star to freedom. In articles and speeches, he insisted that all Americans should have equal rights. His words angered some people. I hold that women as well as men have the right to vote. So not only did he believe in that all Black Americans should be free, he also stood up for the rights of women that were also not accepted in that time period. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I may mourn. It was a crime to help runaway slaves. Fredrick admired Harriet Tubman, a former slave who risked her life to lead others to freedom. He wrote her, "The midnight sky and the silent stars have been your witness of your devotion to freedom." Anna and Fredrick defied the law too. They became conductors on the Underground Railroad and hid whoever knocked on the door. The issue of slavery exploded into a civil war between the North and South. President Lincoln had said many times that slavery was evil, but insisted he did not have the power to end it. After 2 years of war, he changed his mind and issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It freed millions of Black Americans. Fredrick cheered with thousands when the news was announced. I never saw joy before. Men, women, young and old were up. Hats and bonnets were in the air. So the Emancipation Proclamation was a very important proclamation that declared all Black Americans free of slavery, and slavery was now outlawed. Fredrick insisted that the Black men be allowed to fight for their freedom. He traveled from town to town, urging them to join the Union Army. Thousands signed up, including his sons Louis and Charles. Black soldiers got only half pay and were given inferior weapons. The South often killed captured Black soldiers. Douglas met with Lincoln and insisted that they be protected. He did not let me feel for a moment that there was any difference in the color of our skins. I am satisfied now that he is doing all that circumstances permit him to do. So his power, his influence that Frederick Douglass had was so strong that he actually was able to meet President Lincoln. And when he met President Lincoln, he realized that President Lincoln was truly doing absolutely everything he could, and that he did believe in the advancement of Black Americans. After 4 years, the North won the war, but Frederick's happiness was marred when Lincoln was killed. Slavery was now ended everywhere in the United States, but Frederick saw more work ahead. Slavery is not abolished until the Black man has the ballot. The ballot is what you use to vote. So when he says the Black man has the ballot, that means when Black men have the ability to vote. The new president, Andrew Johnson, did not agree with Frederick. So Frederick took to the road again to convince others. It took 4 more years until the lawmakers agreed to give Black men the vote. Douglass had traveled far from slave to freeman, from illiterate means not having the ability to read. We can also see the definition of illiterate within the context of this sentence, because it says from illiterate to educated. So educated would be like our contrasting word. We know educated means to learn and to understand things. So then we understand that the word illiterate means not having the ability to understand. From powerless to powerful, it had been a difficult journey. He knew his people faced more difficulties ahead. He often reminded them, what is possible for me is possible for you. And that is the end. And this was an incredible true story of Frederick Douglass, and it also utilized a lot of his personal quotes on each page that was weaved through each of his story. What is really inspirational and interesting about him is that he never gave up. He understood what was right, what was true, what was just, and because of that, he chose to believe in the advancement of Black Americans, and he worked hard to achieve that. And he spoke up even when people doubted him and slandered him and even caused harm to him. But I hope you enjoyed this read aloud. I really enjoyed this book, and I think it is a very important story to tell. Thank you.